right, so looks like Max and Jared, you're just our last two. So if you can come on back, that would be awesome. Everyone, I'm going to get us started with our second presenter of the day. So thank you all so much for your attention and for your questions in our first presenter. I expect that you will extend the same courtesy and interest to our second presenter, and we're really happy to have Kim Baillie here with us today. Kim has a business accounting and business administration accounting diploma, both from Fanshawe College, so yay Fanshawe grads.
Yeah, I won't tell you how long ago that was.
Oh, okay, that's fine, we're good with that. She'll tell us though that she's worked in public accounting for 10 years and then moved to working in the accounting software systems solutions for about 3 years. And has been working for herself for about 15 years, obviously all overlapping all at the same time. And she has taught in the, and is currently teaching rather, in the accounting and payroll and bookkeeping program. She's been doing that since 2009. We are really looking forward to have Kim share a little bit of information with us. We have her for about an hour. And she has asked that, much like our first presentation, that this is going to be an open dialogue. So please ask questions as the presentation progresses. Welcome, Kim. The floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Kelsey. I'm very excited to be a part of this group and just to kind of pass along any kind of information that I can help out anybody with any questions that they may have as far as their bookkeeping or taxation may go for your business or anything else you might want to know about your business. As she kind of pointed out, my background is coming from Fanshawe in the accounting program and then working in public practice for a bit. So I've had some exposure to different types of companies, going from the other side being that external accountant and then in my bookkeeping business where I have a very diverse group of clients where now I see it from the other side. So now I'm on the bookkeeping end side where I prepare things, get ready right down to taking it down to the auditor for them to go and work their way through. So I'm not real big on corporate taxes, which my understanding is you guys are all entrepreneurs, so we're all looking at self-taxation. And any payroll questions, if you feel that you might have any payroll questions along the line as well, as I do have my PCP, so my payroll designation, to go along with my accounting. One thing that I do want to kind of just point out as you kind of get yourself started in your business is, I know you've probably heard this many times before, but it's really super important to be organized. I know I try and tell this through my my students in class as well, that organization is really going to get you through pretty much anything that that you need to get through. And having an understanding of, and me not really knowing what types of business you guys are in, there's different kinds of things that you need to use for write-offs or how you're going to go ahead and record your expenses and your revenues. On the, I did put together a few links. Is there anybody that's currently using software for your, which one are you using, Jesse?
QuickBooks. I almost said Quick Links. QuickBooks.
Are you using the QuickBooks Online?
Yep.
How are you finding it?
Pretty slick.
Pretty easy?
Yeah, it's tedious. I think it's just maybe because how I have it set up so far. I'm still kind of getting into it, only maybe 2 months in, but
okay.
I find it's tedious because you have to kind of organize each transaction.
Yes. So you're using the import function, basically?
Yeah, auto imports.
Okay. I think once you get your rules set up, things will work a lot quicker for you. Yeah, so that was one of the points I was just going to bring up. The key is to get yourself organized with some software, whether you're using Excel spreadsheets to keep track of your expenses and your revenues, or if you're the web-based software is the best to use. Again, depending upon the type of business that you're in. The nice thing with the online software is you can put an app on your phone and you can pretty much do your accounting no matter where you are. Sage, if anybody's familiar with Simply Accounting, it's gone to a new name, Sage. They have a cloud-based accounting as well. It's like you can literally take pictures of your receipts and then post them to different categories, which you can also do in QuickBooks Online as well. So I did put together a few links for you to kind of just take a look at that software if you haven't already got software in play. But again, using something as simple as Excel is perfect as well. It works just as well as long as you want to keep yourself organized. Not sure with the first presenter what they actually talked about, but if anybody is thinking about HST, when do I need to register for HST? When is a good time for me to go ahead and do that? You do need to realize that you don't have to register for HST until you've hit 30,000 in taxable sales. And that goes on a calendar year. So if for the first year you don't hit that 30, and then you think, okay, it starts January to December, and you roll into January, you're basically starting from a fresh slate, basically. So I don't want anybody to think or tell you that you absolutely have to register for HST, because you don't. You are not required. I did also provide a link to the CRA site for GST registration and some more information if anybody needs any of that information. Now, does anybody have some confusion as to how you report your income and your expenses? Is everybody kind of okay with that process? Okay, we're in a self-sufficient tax system. So I know one of these. We are in a self-sufficient tax system. So they're dependent upon you to complete your own tax forms as far as reporting your income. Again, in my Word document, I just put a link to the CRA site, which will give you the form. So if anybody, this is fairly new and your 2020 is going to be the first year that you're going to be preparing taxes for a small business, there's going to be a new form that you need to complete, and that's your T2125. I also have a PDF form attached as well, and it just really kind of gives you an idea of what you can deduct, what you can't deduct, and a format of how it's going to go on your particular taxes. So I've given you a, sorry, hang on one sec. I've kind of given you a link to that too as well. So as far as, again, not knowing if there is specific issues that people are looking for, again, we do want to make sure we're tracking those revenues and expenses. Is there anything specific as far as the record keeping goes that anybody has any questions about? Yep.
Kim, I think it would be really great if you could tell them about the statements that they need to have, like balance sheet, income statement, cash flow, and what they're for and why they need them.
Oh, okay.
We haven't covered that yet, and we've had a couple questions pop up about that over the last couple of weeks.
Okay, yeah, so if you're looking to prepare those statements for, I don't know of anybody that uses the cash flow statement. It's not that it's difficult, but a lot of people don't understand how to read it. Some accountants don't understand how to read it. They can prepare it, but they don't really know what it's going to tell you. Out of all of the statements that I prepare as a sole proprietor, my most important is my income statement. Right now, if I'm reporting my taxes to the government, they don't really care about what I own and what I owe, so my assets and my liabilities. They're caring about my income. So what did I make, because that's what they're going to tax me on. So when we're looking at our income statement, we are looking at all of the revenue that you have generated, less all of the expenses. So that could be your cell phone, or if you're providing products, if you've had to buy something in order to manufacture your product. And then you get to a net income figure. So we're taking the net between our income and our expenses to get to our profit. And that's what you would be paying your taxes on, less any other deductions that you may have. With your balance sheet is a statement. So basically you're capturing your financial position at a specific point in time. So you are covering your assets. So like your bank account. If your company has any assets, if you've got manufacturing equipment or anything like that that you might need, your computer or your car, and then your debt. So you've got your liabilities on the other side of the balance sheet. Which is going to be, do you have credit card debt? Do you have an operating loan? Do you have any financing for anything that you may need to have purchased? Again, when you're looking at preparing your statements, the most important one, and the one that you're going to prepare first, is always going to be the income statement, because from the income statement, everything else divides from that. But to cover over the cash flow statement, as Kelsey pointed out, what that is, a cash flow is, it's a reconciliation of your cash at the end of a fiscal year. And it shows you your uses and sources of cash. That's really all your cash flow is for. Now, in my day-to-day business, I do a different type of cash flow because I'm doing a cash flow projection for one of my clients. And that is more along the lines of, here's what my bank is now, my balance now, and then here's my payments that I know I have coming out, so that we can there forecast things that we can pay in the future. So there's different ways of looking at cash flow statements. Does that kind of help out with the last question that was there?
Yeah, I think a lot of the questions we get about, you know, how to track expenses, where to track expenses, where those numbers are going to kind of get slotted into. So I like what you said about kind of having those cash projection statements. I think that's something that we all need to maybe do a little more, learn a little bit more of, so that we can plan for our expenses. In our previous presentation, we talked a lot about taxes and saving, you know, taking HST and saving that back, but the other expenses and how to save and budget for them, we haven't really gotten into too much.
Okay. So yeah, so far as I don't know where I want to go with that.
Just throw, you know, anything at you.
Just throw anything out there. Yeah, the big thing is you want to definitely make sure that if you're providing, again, I'm not sure of all the different types of companies that you're running. So depending upon the type of business that you're running, for myself, for my bookkeeping business, I'm a service type business. So I don't really have a lot of expenses, because basically I'm selling my time. Whereas if you're selling an actual product, do you have things that you need to buy? Are there ingredients that you need to buy if there's something that you make, if you're, you know, making chocolates or whatever? And Jesse, I think you said something about hot sauce. So just kind of looking at the names down the bottom. So if you're buying bottles and that kind of stuff, you in order to make those sales, you want to make sure that those expenses are covered first. Not that I'm saying that you need to prolong or delay any of your expenses, but you definitely want to kind of make sure that your core costs are covered before anything else. Obviously, if you have a website, you want to make sure that that's covered in your cell phone. If that's the way you do your business kind of thing, then, and I'm sure probably a lot of people right now, I know a lot of my larger clients are dealing with vendors who have terms in order to pay for bills, whereas a lot of small proprietors don't have that right now. So you're probably working on credit. So you want to make sure you don't affect your credit rating, that kind of thing, about making sure your expenses are getting paid. I'm just wondering, would it be helpful if I showed the actual form that you would be reporting on your taxes, or did somebody kind of already cover that?
We did cover tax in quite a bit of detail. Our previous speaker is a tax specialist.
Oh, okay. Then I'll leave that.
Specifically at the form, but we also haven't looked at any software or reporting systems of any kind. So I know you briefly mentioned Sage, QuickBooks, things like that.
Yeah, I don't have any access to the Sage cloud-based right now. They don't offer anything for training purposes. I've been trying to figure out how to incorporate it into my course, but they can't give me anything, and there's no student version. And I'm like, okay, it makes it really hard to incorporate this into a program and to show people that it's out there when you don't provide it. So I could actually log into my QuickBooks Online if anybody wanted to see. I could quickly go into one of my clients. I'm sure they wouldn't mind. And then they could maybe see what the reporting is like, how easy things can get set up. I know Jesse said you're using it a little bit.
Yeah, Kim, if you're
probably
amazing.
What's that, sorry?
If you're comfortable sharing that, that would be really amazing.
Yeah, it'll just take me 2 seconds to log in.
Sure.
I should have had that done before, but just give me 2 seconds and I will log in real quick.
No worries. Well, Kim is getting that set up. Maybe all of you in the chat can just pop in the answer to a question for me. So I'd like to know, while Kim's getting that set up, what you're currently using to track your business expenses. So are you set up with QuickBooks? Are you set up, yeah, Expensify? Thanks, Chris. Some of you might be using Excel. Some of you might literally have a shoebox. I hope that some of you have more than a shoebox, but what are you looking at right now so that, shoebox, thanks, Aaron. So what are you looking at right now so that we kind of have an idea where you're going? Looks like from this chat right now, most of us are on Excel and probably are cognizant that Excel isn't gonna cut it for us forever. So that would be great. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I have where am I going? Screen share. What's happening? Where'd my menu go? There we go. I'll just pop in here real quick. I can find it. Where did it go? I think that's it. Is this it? Oh, yeah. Okay, here we go. Can everybody see the screen okay?
We can.
Awesome. There we go. Okay, you just ignore the top. So this is kind of what we look like when we get into the QuickBooks Online. You can see the name of the company, and we do have a lot of the different things that we can do down the left-hand side of our screen. They like to call this the dashboard. It kind of gives us an idea of, you know, our bank accounts. What do we have in the bank as at a specific date? The nice part I like about this too is that it does give us some idea as some income that we've earned, some expenses, nice little, they call this the donut chart, and our little sliding graph. And we can kind of keep an eye on our profit and loss as well as our sales. When you're looking at this, again, QuickBooks, just like the desktop version, it's very, I want to say, small business user friendly. Because a lot of times when you're thinking, oh, I want to do something, but I don't really know where I'm supposed to go, it's up here and we're looking at new transactions. It does give us an idea. Do I want to generate an invoice, receive a payment? There's, I want to write a check. The difference between a check and an expense is if this is using your debit card, for example, and you've gone out and you bought some product and you know that the money's already come out of your account, we could go ahead and we could just enter an expense and payee. And the nice part again about the QuickBooks Online is in the shading behind, you can kind of see it actually says, who did you pay? So it's going to prompt you kind of as you go along to say, okay, this is what I bought. I don't know, let's use an example. I bought some gas from Shell, whatever. This is the account that it was paid from, the date, how did you pay for it? And then the category down below is where you're going to be listing out your different types of expenses. You don't want to have so many expenses that there's so much information on your income statement that, but again, it also depends on how much detail do you want out of your income statement. So again, and you can create these as you go. And the nice part about using a piece of software like this is that we'll also track your taxes for you for HST purposes and do your reporting, which is a really, really nice feature that this program does have. It does kind of help you through seamlessly if it gets set up properly to walk your way through it. It does have the option of making things reoccurring so that, you know, if there's something that happens on a regular basis, you can set it up and it just automatically posts into your system, which is kind of nice. As far as the invoicing goes, oops, say yes to that. As far as invoicing goes, they're fairly straightforward. You do have to set up your products or services that you're selling to record them from here. Again, this was just happened to be a service base, so I've just got billable hours set up for them. And then you select your customer, the date. The nice part about, again, this is that you can save and send, so you can email invoices directly from this piece of software, which is great. And you know, it's always going to be up to date because it's cloud-based. So everything that every time they need to make a change to the program, you're always going to have the newest and greatest version of the software. There is an opportunity in the QuickBooks Online to have the system process payments from your customers as well. Realize that is an extra added on piece that gets added into the cost of your program. So they will charge you in order to have that functionality for you. The nice part that I do like about this too is that in your banking, there are rules that you can set up so you could import your bank statements and go ahead and put through all the different, so if you see that you've got your rent or you've got a supply purchase or your gas, once you set the rule and you import your statement, as soon as it sees that same name again, it's automatically going to post it to the proper category or expense account. So that's a nice option too. Okay. Any specific questions that anybody might have about this particular piece of software or any software in general? Everybody got wore out by tax?
I guess like is like, for example, like if I'm with a manufacturer, I put like the cost, what the like category is, and then the money. Like, so is there anything else that I'm gonna need, like for expenses? Like it's, oh, and the date, I put the date. Yeah, like is there anything else that?
Yeah, so when you're incurring your expenses, you're pretty much going to have a receipt, right? So like you're going to have like a piece of paper from whoever you bought something from. So what you're ideally doing is you're taking this piece of paper and you're entering it into your computer system.
Oh,
so
yeah. I do put the receipt picture in some of them, yeah.
Yes. So the nice part about the QuickBooks Online is you can take the picture and you can set the rule and it will post to the proper category.
Nice.
I don't have anybody that's really using it right now. It does kind of work. It does work. And I do like the import function. The old import function in the old desktop of QuickBooks was horrible. But they've really come a long way with this program. And if I had been giving this presentation a year ago, I would have said, don't use QuickBooks Online. I'm kind of old school and I kind of like my desktop version. So the more I'm starting to use this, the more I'm starting to like it. I wish that Sage would offer up a tutorial version so that I could get in and play around with it. I'm normally a Sage person. I like their desktop software a lot more than QuickBooks, but I haven't seen their online side yet. So that's something that I'm hoping to get into later on. Sorry, Chris, did that kind of help your question a little bit?
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Was there anything other software specific?
Kim?
Yeah.
I noticed when you were going in and you were adding the expense and adding the gas in there, the amount auto-populated. Was that from a previous expense that it remembered the amount, or did it pull somewhere? How'd that work?
Yeah, so what that was is too, I have an option turned on where it automatically recalls the last transaction from that same vendor. So if you get a lot of times, if you go to the gas station, you always put 50 bucks in, you don't always want to have to be keying that in. And it's just an option you can turn on just to say to recall the last transaction, but you have the option of typing over top of anything that's there. The nice part about that, as soon as I put in the vendor name, the category and the amount with the taxes automatically pops up.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah,
so that's a nice feature that's kind of there. That's one thing that Sage doesn't offer. Again, I don't know if they offer that in their cloud version because I haven't seen it. I tried to play around in it. I tried to convert my own file in, but it wasn't working. And I was like, I don't have time to deal with this right now. So I'd like to play with it so that I could recommend it. But anyway, it's always easier when someone just goes, oh, by the way, this is what I'm using. And you get thrown in and here we go. So was there anything other specific, if people are having Excel questions as far as keeping track of your expenses? Excel works great as long as your spreadsheets are organized. I have had clients in the past where they keep their revenue on one tab, they have all their expenses on the other, kind of link everything to create a little bit of an income statement, which makes things a lot easier at the tax time in order to create their income that they need to report on their taxes.
Does everyone know what an income statement looks like? Some of you?
Do you want me taking a look? I'll walk through the reporting here.
That'd be great, thanks.
So in the reporting, just within this program, we can see that we've got options. We've got all of our standard ones. Now, I'm using an accountant version, so I might get some more reports that might not be just available in the standard. So if we were to take a look at, in here, they do call it a profit and loss, which is the same thing as an income statement. So we've got incomes and expenses. In here, it always kind of defaults to the last month that we're working on. This company isn't really active very much anymore, so let me see if I can find. And they do have a lot of preset dates that we can go ahead and just key in. And again, it gets the option to select your dates. We can choose our accounting method, cash or accrual. I'm assuming most people in a small proprietor are doing things on the cash basis. So when we run our report, so what this kind of does is it gives us for us, this is a corporation actually, that happens to have its year end on September 30th. So what it does is it gives us all of our sales that we have processed through our invoicing, and then it just gives us our different categories of expenses. So our advertising and promotion, did I have to advertise my business anywhere, put out my website, put out flyers. If you know that you're traveling around to clients in order to sell your product, you want to be writing off gas. Again, office supplies, parking, this person did have some payroll, some rent, telephone. So it's just, as I like to say, there's no such thing as a miscellaneous expense. Everybody has a home somewhere. So you kind of just find a place to put it. But as I said, this is fully customizable. So when we're taking a look at this, that yes, it says it say, you know, had $49,000 worth of sales. But by the time we get through all of the expenses, we actually show that this company had a small loss. So they didn't actually generate a profit for them in this particular year because my expenses are higher than my income. Okay, so when you're going through and creating your income statement, a lot of times you will find in a lot of startup businesses that they will have a little bit of a loss going forward in the first couple of years. And if you have any other employment income, again, I won't get into the whole tax component, but if you do have a small loss on a sole proprietorship business, that income is able to be deducted off any other, let's say, employment income. If you have a T4 income kind of thing, that would be reduce your income that way. So also within the reporting, so that's our income statement. There are lots of other reports, again, just to kind of show you, we do have a balance sheet, which is, again, keeping track of all of our assets and liabilities. So the cash that we have in the bank, any assets that we may own, in this case, a computer and a phone system, and then any debt. So we've got some credit cards, any, you know, corporate taxes or HST payable, payroll. And then it does get down into the final section. Again, this is a corporation, so we do have capital stock, and then we have retained earnings. So when you're looking at a sole proprietorship, this part isn't on the balance sheet, isn't as important as the income statement is. It certainly is if at any point down the road you're looking at selling your business, then yes, you want to put this together as well. We also do have, there are some options in here too. I did see one. I don't normally use these ones. So in QuickBooks, they actually do break it down. So we've got kind of a business overall between your balance sheet, income statement. There is your statement of cash flows if you want to take a look at it. Again, if I was to choose this by last fiscal year. Again, it just kind of shows uses and sources of cash. So where did your cash come from and where did your cash go? So that just kind of balances out to your cash end of period. Again, that's not the typical type of report that I like to use for a cash flow. I prefer to say, this is what I have in my bank now. These are the payments that I know I need to make going forward. These are my deposits that are coming in. Am I going to be able to make it? Is my account going to go overdrawn, or is my my money coming in going to be able to cover my expenses that I have that are going out in the next little while, let's say. So this is a completely different kind of cash flow statement. The other one that I was talking about, I just generate myself using an Excel spreadsheet. So there's lots of things. So we can say who owes you. So if you want to keep track of your accounts receivable, you certainly can do that. So that's anybody that owes you money, any of your customers that you may have that owed you money. So we can do the invoicing. And once we've done the invoicing and record payments, if there's anything left over, then they still owe you that money. And just more detail, same thing with accounts payable. So things that you owe. Do you have payment arrangements with one of your suppliers where they'll allow you to put things on account and pay it off over a slow period of time? There are lots of other things. So you can, if you want to see your expenses that you've spent by a specific supplier, like how much money am I spending with this one supplier of mine? Could I, maybe farm this out somewhere else and get some more discounts maybe somewhere else? That's a good one to take a look at. And there are lots of tax reports here for you to kind of help you get through the filing of your HST. And again, this one had payroll, so we've got some employees. Okay, so there's lots of reporting. You can create your own custom reports in here. I have a few, and then there are some management reports, which is just going to be some very basic company financials that it will put together for you, and then just some expanded ones. So those are more like what your accountant would do for you at the end of the year. As far as the reports go, that's kind of what we've got. Again, the nice part about QuickBooks is it will allow you to track your mileage. So there isn't a mileage part on here where you can log your trips. That's another key thing. I don't know if they talked about that in the last one, was if keeping a log of your mileage, if you're going to write off your vehicle, is a really, really good thing. I have my day timer that I usually put all my appointments in. And if I need to go back and clock my mileage, I will do that if the auditor ever asks for it. But I haven't been asked for it yet, so I don't typically go through and do it. But this is something that nice that it will track your mileage for you. So again, having the app for this on your phone would be very helpful. Is there any other questions as far as software goes? Radio silence.
Are any of you considering a particular software as you move into more detailed financial statements? Excel forever?
Probably move into QuickBooks, to be honest. Like the program looked pretty simple and easy to use.
Yeah, it is. Like I said, it's geared towards the small businesses. It's meant to be simple. And there are a lot of good tutorials out there, and it does kind of walk you through when you're setting it up, asks questions like how do you plan on doing this, or would you like to set up this as far as payables, receivables, that kind of thing. So it is kind of nice to take you through the steps that you need in order to get set up. And I did just see on their website too that they're offering a bit of a promotion. I think it's 50% off. It's a monthly fee that you pay. Just to have the bare bones minimum, I think it's like $5 a month. It's like really cheap.
Yeah.
It's better than buying a $500 piece of software and you only use a small piece of it. Anything else that anybody might have? Did I cover any questions that anybody might have already had? Any other questions?
Kim?
Yeah.
So you said that the QuickBooks is about $5 a month. Comparatively for industry average, as we're looking into kind of what we can expect to pay for an accounting software.
Yep.
That to me sounds like it's very cheap. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's their discounted price right now.
Okay.
So I think the lowest version of QuickBooks is usually around $10 a month. You're not going to quite get the full version of if you need to track inventory, that kind of thing. Again, it's just an idea to compare what you actually need out of the software. And then once you start incorporating payroll, it gets a little bit more expensive as well, because then they start charging you by employee and turning payroll on that kind of thing. But minimum, I'm going to say you're probably going to spend about $10 a month to upwards of maybe 20 for something that's going to track receivables, payables, and inventory. But even still, $20 a month, like I'm paying $20 a month for my subscription to Zoom so that I can have more than 40 minutes of class time. So, relatively $20 a month to do your own bookkeeping is a good place to save money rather than trying to hire somebody to do it for you.
And approximately, just for those of us that maybe aren't so numbers inclined, what would we be looking for as small businesses? Almost all of us are sole proprietors here.
Yep.
To have a bookkeeper help us out. What kind of costing would we be looking at for something like that?
Depends. If you're going to get somebody that's fresh out of school, anything from $15 to $20 an hour kind of thing. Someone like myself, a little bit more. I'm on the range of like 45 to 55 an hour, just because of the experience and the background that comes in. And again, it just depends on, what you have, how much work is involved, how much, and the more you do, the less the cost is going to be if you decide to get an accountant to do your stuff at the end of the year.
Right.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What is the difference between an accountant and a bookkeeper? Like, it's the same kind of.
Yeah, I don't have my professional designation.
Okay.
I don't have my CPA designation. Like I said, I've done the programming at Fanshawe, and it's just something, long story short, life happened and I didn't quite finish my CPA many, many years ago. And this was just a route that I decided to go. I really like the numbers thing, and I like dealing with different types of clients. I like the challenges that bookkeeping gives me, because people have a different type of scenario and they're like, but I don't quite know what to do with this.
Yeah.
And I can kind of work our way through that. And a big part of my business too is software support. Like I said, I was at that software solution company for a few years, and that's what I did. I went in, I took a look at the needs that the company had, and I would make a recommendation to software, install, train, and roll over all of their data. So mainly your bookkeepers are going to be the day-to-day stuff, and then your accountants are going to be high-end, end-of-year personal taxes, corporate taxes, external financial statements.
Okay. I understand now. Thank you.
Yeah, perfect.
So Kim, as we're possibly looking to hire bookkeepers or outsourcing, is there a point where you recommend maybe a business gets to a certain point and they should be looking for a bookkeeper? And how do we choose a good one?
I would definitely ask for recommendations. So talk around to other businesses, see who they use. Are they happy with them? Are they not happy with them? There are definitely some better ones than others out there. I've had a few people that have come to me and they're like, oh, we want to, hire somebody, but, can't quite afford you, but could you recommend anybody? And they've thrown out some company names, and just from my perspective, when I've gotten files that somebody else has done, I've kind of looked at the way things are done, and I'm just like, I don't really think you got what you paid for, kind of thing. So it truly is, and I can honestly say I have not done any advertising for my business in all the years I've been doing this. It's all been word of mouth. So with me being in the public practice, having worked with a few CPAs in the city, they've kind of recommended me out to other places to pick up, the day-to-day accounting records, or, kind of be like the controller of the company, kind of thing like that. So again, all my advertising has all been word of mouth. So the job that you do is obviously the best advertising that I could get. So it's really, you just got to talk to other people. You could take a leap and kind of go, yeah, I'm going to go down this route. I'm going to say, like, if someone's going to charge you $50 an hour and they give you an Excel spreadsheet, I'm going to say it's really not worth your value that you just paid for. So it would be, what kind of services are you providing to me for that $50 an hour?
And are there any, particular industries or businesses that may have more complicated financial statements that really should be looking at bookkeepers versus companies, industries that may have more simple systems and could take a crack at it themselves?
I think the big thing is the difference of taxation. So if you know that if you're in a business where you may sell a tax provided service and you may sell a non-tax taxed service, I do particularly have, sorry?
Can you give an example of that?
Well, I was just gonna say, yeah, I've got one client, it's a physiotherapy with a massage. So the massage business is taxable, but the medical physiotherapy part is not.
Oh.
So then you've got to come down to the fact, you're like, okay, how do I deal with the HST throughout this entire company? And it's just something that they just didn't want to have to deal with. They're like, I don't want to think about that. I want to think about what I'm good at, and I want you to just deal with it. So again, knowing those rules, I think any sole proprietorship I've got somebody who's runs a laundromat who some things are taxable if they put, I think it's something to do with the dryers or something. If they put the dryer on for longer than however long, or it costs so much. And, you know, he's really done a really good job of taking that on himself, but he bought the business from somebody and just kind of adopted their accounting. It's again, just done on an Excel spreadsheet. It's not the greatest. I could probably get it through a little bit better if he'd let me have my hands on it, but it really just depends on the person. If you feel that that's something that you don't want to deal with, I would certainly recommend get somebody to help you, because the last thing that you want is for your taxes to fall behind, or to get your personal, you know, your reporting of your yearly income to get behind. I've got a few that have just the same thing where we're trying to catch up. We're paying 3 years worth of taxes all at once, and it's something that can be avoided. So if it's just you feel it's something that you don't want to take on yourself, by all means, I would, you know, look for somebody to farm that out to. But make sure you trust them. Like, this is your livelihood. You want to make sure that things are done correctly.
Perfect. I have more questions I can ask, but we only have Kim for about another 5 minutes. So does anyone have any questions they would like to ask? You're all good?
Everyone's like, no, I got this. I can work my way through this.
Cool. So Kim, as we are building our companies and we're kind of all starting out on our bookkeeping adventures, do you have a couple maybe key things to really make sure we pay attention to, and maybe a couple key things we make sure to avoid?
And again, I always kind of take it as a perspective of what were to happen if I was to get audited. If Revenue Canada was to ever come in, or CRA was ever to come in and say, you know what, I'm going to take a look at everything that you reported. Big thing to remember, receipts. They're not going to take for gas. They are not going to take your credit card statement, because they can't prove that you didn't buy a chocolate bar and a Gatorade and a bunch of other stuff while you were at the gas station. So if you're writing off things that shouldn't be written off. Otherwise, normally CRA will take a credit card statement if you've lost the receipt. But the big thing is, I know we're trying to get away from paper and become a paperless society. Unfortunately, in accounting, that's never going to happen. Anything that you're going to claim, make sure you have backup. Which is why, again, I brought up if you want to claim your mileage, charge your company mileage, use the CRA approved rates for mileage. Keep your log if you're going to have write off those travel expenses. That seems to be the really big thing. And they also like to really pick on meals and entertainment. So depending upon your type of business that you have, you may say that I was entertaining clients. Depends on what your business is, right? So if it doesn't make sense for you to entertain clients, that may be something that they may take a look at, just kind of say, you know what? And again, with the meals thing, if you're going to keep the receipt, you're supposed to be listing on the back who you're with and what you were discussing. So in case the CRA auditor ever comes through. As I always kind of say to some of my clients, I'm like, if it doesn't get past me on my smell test, it's not going to get past CRA. So things that you know that are related to your personal business should not be going through your professional business. So you want to, even though it's a sole proprietor, it's kind of like, well, the sole proprietor and my business, that's still me. However, we don't want to be writing off your, I'm trying to think of an expense that we could say, your TV or your Netflix or whatever. We don't want to be writing that off through your business. Internet, we can get away with, because that's usually how a lot of us are generating our business, is through the internet. We're using it for email, we're using it for our websites, so we can get away with that. But they do kind of take a look at, you know, if you've got that Disney Plus subscription and your Netflix, that, you know, we don't want to write that kind of stuff off. Okay, so you definitely want to just try and keep that segregation between your business and your personal life.
Kim,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people talk about write-offs, but I don't think we've ever actually had a formal definition of what a write-off is and how it works. Would you mind giving us one of those?
Oh, yeah. A write-off is just another way we like to talk about expenses. So when I'm saying a write-off, I'm things that I would pay for probably out of my own home, out of my own pocket. My cell phone, it's an expense that I need to in order to run my business. That's how my clients get a hold of me. My email, my websites, that kind of thing. So yeah, purely when anybody's just talking about a write-off, we're just talking about expenses.
I'm always reminded of that. I think it's Seinfeld. I'm dating myself here, but that Seinfeld skit where he's like, it's a write-off. He's like, still means you have to pay for it. He's like, but it's a write-off. So
yeah, exactly. So one of the things I was looking for, because again, being in a service-based business, I was like, was trying to find something that I could, reduce my income by. So I was like, oh, I'm going to go lease a new car. I'm like, yeah, I get to write it off, which means I'm going to, reduce my amount of my income I report. However, I still have to pay for the car. But it does make sense.
Yeah, I think
so anytime anybody's talking about a write-off, it's just a way to reduce your income. So an expense, basically.
Yeah, I think that's key, that the term write-off gets tossed around colloquially as people think they're free, but that's not true.
Oh no, there is no free write-off, that's for sure.
Perfect. All right.
Awesome.
Kept Kim a couple minutes longer than we promised, but
that's okay.
Probably have time for maybe one more question if anyone has one that they want to pop in there. Aaron, go ahead.
I got a question for so for business, like a business write-off, for basically your home.
Oh yes.
If I'm like the issue is like so I'm living with my parents, and they're the ones that are actually paying for the home. Could I still? I mean, that's a good thing, right? But like, could I still use that as a write-off or no?
Would your parents be doing anything as far as a home office write-off? Like, would they be using the expenses?
They're like, what do you mean? Sorry.
So, your parents have a job that they go to that they wouldn't be using the home office as what we like to call as a write-off. So so I would say there's no issue with that. They're not going to come back and say you didn't pay for these. So the way that a home office works is we would take the cost of running that home. So it could be your rent or your mortgage interest. We can never take the mortgage principal, but we could take mortgage interest, any rent if you had it, utilities, anything related to the home. And then we do it as a percentage of the space that you're using for your office over the entire home. So if you have one specific room, take the square footage of that room over the square footage of the entire house. So a lot of times you're going to get like a 10%, 20% deduction. So you would put, and there's a spot for that on the tax form as well, on the 2125. And you basically put in your square footage, put in all of your total expenses, and it will calculate the amount that you would get to write off as a home office.
Okay,
does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome, great. Anybody else? We're okay?
Perfect. Amazing. Thank you so much, Kim. We really appreciate it. I know we put you on the spot there with a bunch of questions, but
it's awesome.
You put them all amazingly, so we really appreciate it.
Perfect. That's awesome. I wish everybody the best of luck, and I'm around the college. If you need my email or whatever, don't hesitate to reach out. I'd love to help out if I can.
We appreciate that. So we'll share Kim's information on our network. But before she signs off, if you are at your computer and are able to turn on your camera, please do so we can send Kim off with one of our waves. And if you can't turn on your camera, if you can give us one of the, what are these things called? Clapping. That's it. One of the clapping reactions, that'd be great. So Kim, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Okay, bye everybody. It was great meeting everybody and having a nice little chat. And again, feel free to reach out if there's anything I can do for you.
Thank you so much, Kim.
Awesome. David, do you want me to just send that Word doc over to you with the links in it?
That would be great. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Thanks very much.
Thanks for joining us. Have a great rest of your day.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.